Welcome, everyone. We are live tonight. Where are we live? We are live on Fanbase, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Tonight's lecture by Neville Goddard is from October the 13th, 1967. So let us begin. Ask any religious person if he believes in God, and he will say yes. But if you ask him who God is, everyone you ask will give you a different answer. So when I ask you to trust in God, I want you to know who God really is. For if you trust in him, your world will change. Speaking to God, Moses asked, "When I go to the people of Israel and tell them that the God of our fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob sent me, and they ask me your name, what shall I tell them?" Then God replied, "Say this: I am has sent me to you. This is my name forever. I am hath sent you. This is my name forever. Thus shall I be known throughout all generations." Here we discover God's name to be I am. The same name you use when you identify yourself. Now I ask you, do you believe in God? The word translated Lord in the statement I am the Lord is Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, which means I am. So this statement could read, I am the I am. It is impossible to say I am and speak of another. And your awareness, your I am, is he who declares, I am the Lord, and my glory I will not give to another. During your lifetime, I am sure there have been those you thought greater than yourself. I remember when General Eisenhower returned from his successful campaign. There was a big parade for him, and thousands of people bowed before him, giving him their glory by worshiping a false image. There is no other God other than he who is housed within you. Then you say, I am, you are speaking God's name, the God I ask you to trust, for there is no other. We are told to make no graven image unto me. If you make an image out of marble or metal in the shape of another and worship it, you have created a false god. A friend recently shared a wonderful experience with me. It seems a neighbor was forever dropping in on her and constantly telling her horrible stories about her friends. She tried to tell the woman how to change things by using her imagination, but she would not listen. And although she imagined her as a fine, positive, happy person, she remained in her negative state. Well, realizing the lady was a character my friend had to overcome, she began to change her thoughts. In her imagination, she told the neighbor that she loved her. This she persisted in doing until one day she realized she really did. That night, she had this dream. She found herself sitting in the shade of a beautiful tree. A figure approached, looking like a goddess in a long white gown with loose sleeves and a silver belt. Well, suddenly she realized it was her friend who came to say goodbye. They embraced, and she felt a surge of love for that woman like she had never known for anyone before. The next day, this lady came to her door and said, I gave my notice this morning and have come to say goodbye. Then my friend added this thought. If I could fall as much in love with the being within me as I did with this lady, I would be completely transformed, which in turn would produce a great change in my outer world of effects. For now I know my friend's transformation took place within me. Scripture tells us to love God because he first loved us, and that we should imitate him as dear children. Well, how is this done? By falling in love. Whether you desire, mm, whether your desire be for wealth, fame, health, or marriage, you must fall in love with the state. My friend fell in love and so transformed the lady she will never again encounter that state. God uses man to express love and hate. For man is the agent to express the qualities of I am. There is no other God. You will find other characteristics of God, but those who know his name put their trust in I am. Put your trust in God's name, knowing what you want. Believe that your assumption will make it a fact. Believe that you need no one on the outside to aid you, for all things are possible to God. Assume things are as you want them to be, for an assumption persisted in will harden into fact. Another lady found herself in a dream with her sister, mother, brother in law, and a man she knew to be her first husband. Having agreed to cross the desert on foot and return, they began their journey as the sun blistered her body and the sand burned her feet. At one point, she fell, struck her head on a rock, and knew excruciating pain. But at the journey's end, she found her father. Then she returned to the group and they began their journey home. Again, they encountered everything they had experienced before. But this time, she fell madly in love with her first husband. As her love grew for him, hmm, as her love for him grew, he became younger and younger. And by the time they returned, he was a youth. She was told that the entire trip took 4 days, 2 days to go and 2 days to return. As she contemplated this period of time, she saw her husband stretched out on the top of a hill. Filled with a great love for him, she was about to throw herself upon his body when she awoke. This experience is 100% scripture. In Genesis, it is said that as the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, a dread and great darkness fell upon him. Then the Lord said to Abram, know of a surety that your descendants will be sojourners in a land that is not theirs. They will be slaves there and oppressed for 400 years. Afterwards, they shall come out with great possessions. Genesis 15. In biblical language, the number is important, not years or days. Every letter of the Hebrew tongue has a numerical and a symbolical value. 400 has the numerical value of the last letter, Taf, whose symbol is a cross, the cross of man. In her vision, it took 2 days to enter and 2 days to return, making a total of 4. The number 2 is opposition, division. The journey was that of oppression, fear, and hardship. But in the end, she found her first love, who guided and helped her return. Isaiah tells you, your maker is your husband. The Lord of hosts is his name. He has called you like a wife, forsaken and grieved in spirit, and will love you with everlasting love. Isaiah 54. In spite of everything you do, have done, or will do, God will forgive you. For you are his emanation, his wife till the sleep of death is past. Regardless of the garment you wear, be it male or female, you are God's wife in this world. In symbolism, however, God's wife appears in the form of a female. Blake tells us that he is God only, and she is God in you. As you journey, you are God's emanation. But when the journey comes to its end, you will know only God as your maker, your husband, for you will inherit God. You will no longer be two, but you will become one being as you inherit yourself. Remember, you have only one lover, only one husband. He is your own wonderful human imagination called God. It is He who gives you everything you fall in love with. But if you pray to a little statue made by human hands, you are serving a false God. One day you will know that this world, which seems so real, is a dream. That you were never a rich, poor, white or black man, as these were only states you dreamed when you entered the state called Abram to become Abraham, the father of multitudes. God revealed himself to Abraham as El Shaddai, God Almighty, then to Moses as I am. God's final revelation will come to you when God's only begotten son, David, calls you father. It is said that David died, and his sepulchre is within us to this day, Acts 2. It is within you, God's sepulchre, that David will rise. Appealing to the Lord to awake, David cries, "Rouse thyself. Why sleepest thou, O Lord? Awake. Do not cast us off forever." For only as the Lord awakes can David rise from the sepulchre and find his father. Having been promised that his soul would not be left in hell, David awakes, and as he calls you father, your soul is released from hell. Asleep to your true identity, you are dreaming the horrors of life for a divine purpose. Only through many tribulations will you enter the kingdom of heaven. Acts 14. Do not be concerned with the horrors of the world. Simply remember that all is ordered and correct. Instead, fall in love with the I am within you and change your world. God made it as it is now, and He can change it, for your husband is a creator. Everything in your world can be traced back to your own wonderful human imagination, who is God. Man is all imagination, and God is man. He exists in us and we in Him. The eternal body of man is the imagination, and that is God Himself. William Blake. Fall in love with the state you now desire to occupy, and to the degree that you are self-persuaded, you will enter it. Don't believe in anyone outside of your own wonderful human imagination. Every coin is inscribed with the statement, "In God we trust." Yet I wonder how many trust in God and not the coin. If you really believe in God, you can be penniless, yet walk in the assumption of wealth and be wealthy. Learn to trust your own wonderful human imagination, for He is the only God. Do that, and you will never go wrong. Listen, man is all imagination, and God is man. He exists in us, and we in Him. The eternal body of man is the imagination, and that is God Himself. Fall in love with the state you now desire to occupy, and to the degree that you are self-persuaded, you will enter it. Let's elaborate on that for a brief moment, shall we? You see, the most popular one is we want companionship. So when we say fall in love, we think, "Oh, I'm so smitten with you. Oh, you're so handsome. Oh, you're so beautiful. You're so blah, blah, blah." But remember what the lady said with her neighbor, who would come and complain all the time. She saw her in the best possible light, but the woman never changed. But she did one other thing. She said, "Let me fall in love." Let me love this woman just for the sake of love itself. And the woman changed. Fancy that. So tonight, when we here to fall in love with the state that we desire, you see, when you fall in love with something, you look through, as they say, rose-colored lenses. Nothing taints your vision. The only thing you are consumed with is that thing that you love. What is it that you want to experience in this world? Now, how does it make you feel? You want to be what? You want to possess what? Fall in love with having it. You have this thing. You are so excited. Think about love for a moment. Perhaps you have a pet that you love. Perhaps you have a small baby. Perhaps you have a lover. Examine what that love feels like. It makes you behave how? Well, you would do anything for this person, this thing, wouldn't you? When you love something so much, something happens, you know. It is the only thing that takes over your mind. It is all you can think about. It is all you can dream about. How you're going to be, what you're going to say, what you're going to do. That is all you can think about day in and day out. From that place of unconditional love. Why unconditional? The only condition is that you want it. That's it. Do you want it? Well, then love it. Because wouldn't you? If you had that new car, wouldn't you love it? Wouldn't you clean it and make sure it didn't have a scratch on it? And wouldn't you make sure the interior was pristine? Oh, I'm sure you would. If you had that man or that woman in your life, wouldn't you take them flowers? Wouldn't you take them chocolate? Oh, shoot, you wouldn't wait till Valentine's Day, would you? No. You would be thinking about them all day. You may come home with a card. You may sit at your desk over your lunch hour and make that card. You can't get home. You can't wait to get home to see your puppy, your chicken. That person consumes you. Neville says, embody the state so that it is the only thing in your mind's eye. It crowds everything else out of your consciousness. Why? Because when you love it so much, you breathe life into it. So when he says to trust in God, who is God? If you're looking in the mirror, you're seeing the face of God. When you speak to yourself, you're hearing the voice of God. Now, what will you make God say? Something beautiful or something ugly? How will you treat yourself? How will God treat you? Well, that depends. How will you treat yourself? So tonight, my beautiful friends, as you put your head on your pillow to rest, fall in love with the simple fact that your imagination, you create from there. And you have the ability to create the most beautiful or the most horrendous. Choose what it is you want to experience, beauty or horror. Just choose. But be like the woman who had a neighbor. She didn't turn her away, no. She kept seeing her as her best self. And then when that didn't go according to what she wanted, she changed. She says, no, wait. Let me love her. She loved her to wholeness. She loved her right into the state. She didn't have to live with her to love her. She didn't have to talk to her every day to love her. But when she thought about her, she remembered, I love this person. So whatever that thing is that you say you want to become, love it so much and give it to yourself. Because when you love it, you feel it in your body. What does he say? Let me read it to you. Fall in love with the state you now desire to occupy. And to the degree that you are self persuaded, you will enter it. We want someone to prove to us how much they love us. We want to be persuaded that we are loved. But what if you accepted that you were loved already? You'll have to persuade yourself of that. To persuade yourself means to make yourself believe such a thing. Look at how many things that are false. And, an assumption, even though it may be false, if persisted in, it will harden into fact, which means that thing that you believe in, if it is a lie, just because you believe it over and over and over again, you persist in believing it, it has to become true. So it's not what it is, it's the intensity of your imagination that makes something true, makes it true to you. So if you are so willing to buy into the lie that, oh, you're no good, this buddy's better than you, that person's better than you, you're willing to believe that? Well, you should trust in God, because God says what? Before the world was, I am. So before God made anything, you were chosen. It's not because he was bored and lonely, but because he is in you and he is in me. So trust in God, because God is not outside. It is within. You don't have to believe me. Why don't you test it? You see what I'm saying to you tonight? We go to bed believing certain things. We go to bed believing the worst about ourselves. But I simply ask you to believe the best about yourself, and you push back and you say, but I can't. That seems blasphemous. It is even worse to believe worse of yourself. Always think the best of yourself. Because why? You are God's emanation. What does that mean, to emanate? God pours out of you because God is within you. To emanate from something means you have to come forth from it. So you're coming forth from God. Well, that's what happened before the world was. But now look where he is. He's within you, so he can come out of you. This is why God became man, so man can become God. Anywho, who's here tonight so we can say our good nights? Hello, Ron, Marjorie, darling, Sugar Visions, Shea Butter, Cyber, and for the others who've not made themselves known, I see you. Who's on fan base tonight? Flo Smiles, Miss Crenshaw, KZ, Miss Deborah, that deal. It is so good to see you all here tonight. Thank you all for being here and spending your time to hear this lecture. So when you look in the mirror, trust in God. Notice something. You are love, you understand? You are it already. And the way, if you get thoughts that are contrary to life, listen to me well, hear me. If you get thoughts that are contrary to life, meaning to end someone's or your own, that is contrary to life. Examine the state before you make any decision. The state that you are in will determine how you act. So if you're in a low down, dirty feeling mood or state, do you think you'll be throwing confetti and be happy and dancing? Well, of course not. So chances are, if you're in that low state, you'll have to act accordingly. But if you put yourself in a different state, change your perspective, see life itself as a beautiful thing, well, now the desire to live exists, does it not? And all you did was change the state. So it is one thing to hear. It is another to examine and to test what you hear. Because whatever is good, whatever is true, whatever is honest, whatever is of good report, think on these things. Why? Because as within, so without. That, my beautiful friends, is where we shall close tonight. Trust in God. Who is God? What? I am. Not you are. I am. Well, that's what he said. That's what we said his name was. Who shall I say sent me? Tell him I am hath sent you. Who is I am? Oh, that would be me, isn't it? I am. So begin to walk with a different attitude. Speak with a different attitude. Why? Because I am. That's not a weakling in the corner. It's not a coward either. But it is love and it is compassionate. It is gentle. It knows when to be strong. You have it within you. Examine it, explore it, and walk and live in it. Much love to you all, my beautiful friends. Much love to you all. Good night.